Why does Porsche's CEO hate EV cars? Porsche's CEO, Oliver Blume, surprised everyone in the car industry by saying that regular car engines are still good, even though most people are switching to electric cars. Porsche has a special engine called the Beast that is even better than normal powerful engines, and it doesn't cause a lot of pollution. So what makes him less interested in EVs? What's his plan for the future? Join us as in this video we're going to take a closer look and discuss these questions. Porsche is spending a lot of money on a special kind of fuel that they can use in their engines. Blume says that Porsche knows that electric cars are important. They still want to make engines for people who like old kinds of cars. They have also made a way for people who have these cars to keep driving them without causing too much pollution. So, when will we see this amazing engine in action? Is Porsche trying to stop electric cars from becoming popular? A little while ago, Porsche's chief financial officer, Lutz Mechke, talked about how hard it is for the company to get parts for electric cars. They rely a lot on things from China, and that's making their sales go down. While some Chinese car companies like BYD are doing well, Porsche is having problems getting the things it needs. The report about their sales in the last part of 2022 showed that their electric car sales aren't very rosy. But then, something unexpected happened that changed their plan. They made an engine that runs on hydrogen, which is something that hasn't been done many times before, and it's even better than regular gasoline engines. If you look at climate protection as a whole, and this isn't only a matter for Europeans alone, it's a worldwide affair, you have to think of what will happen with the 1.3 billion ICEs which are currently available in the market, and that number will continue to grow. They will still be driven around for decades, Oliver Blume noted. This all started in 2022 when Porsche said that they wanted to make a hydrogen engine that's as good as regular engines. Why are they spending so much money on this kind of engine that's not so popular? The answer is a bit surprising, but we'll touch on that later. This engine is as strong as a V8 engine, which is known for being very powerful. It has an incredible 590 horsepower and can go up to 162 miles an hour. Hydrogen engines used to have big problems because they needed a lot of energy to work, and they still emit bad stuff into the air, nitrogen oxide. Honda tried to make them, but it didn't work out. Porsche is different. They're using a special urea-based catalytic reduction system that gets rid of the bad stuff like diesel engines do. They will also use clean hydrogen made from the sun and wind to power the engine, instead of fossil fuels. This engine also has a unique way of getting more power, kind of like a turbocharger, and it can go really fast, up to 261 kilometers an hour. And on top of that, it's also good for the environment. Porsche did something incredible here. There's also talk about Porsche testing a new kind of fuel with their 911 car. They've already spent $75 million on it, which shows it's important. Porsche seems to have found something amazing. This new fuel, also called e-fuel, is actually getting popular. The European Union even said that cars with regular engines can be used until 2035 if they use these new fuels. This way, there's a bridge between when we use regular engines and when we swap over to electric cars. Porsche is working with Siemens Energy and global partners on the Haru Oni project in Chile. They use wind power to make fuel that doesn't have a lot of pollution. These new fuels are made from things that don't harm the earth, like carbon dioxide and hydrogen. They can be used in cars we already have, so we don't need to change everything. Porsche is happy about this new fuel type because they can keep making engines that people like, and it's also good for the planet. This fuel can not just help cars, but also help things like airplanes and big ships. But why did they choose Chile for this? Chile has a lot of water, carbon dioxide, and wind, all the things they need to make this fuel. Porsche put $75 million into a project to make these fuels. At first, they'll make a little bit, about 35,000 gallons every year, but they have big plans to make a lot more in the next few years. Michael Steiner, the R&D head at Porsche, talked about this new fuel. He said they're almost like not producing any pollution at all, so even old cars can be cleaner. The most important point is to sell these fuels so that old cars can continue to be used without hurting the planet. So here's how it's produced. A big wind turbine like Siemens Gamesa uses a fancy method to split water into hydrogen through some fancy process. But there's a catch. This process is not cheap, at least not yet. Porsche needs 10 euros for each liter of this fuel, which is like $40.78 for a gallon right now. But they want to make it cost 7.57 euros per liter, which makes it $30.88 by 2026. Even though making this special fuel uses up some energy, Porsche is still going for it. They've already spent over $100 million, and they want to make it in Chile and use it around the world. They're hopeful that making this fuel won't cause any extra carbon in the air. There might be some rules to deal with, but Porsche remains determined to succeed. Here's another problem. According to the authorities in Europe, they still count this fuel as emissions. Even though it's made from carbon that's already in the air, they still see it like it's a bad thing. Go figure. So here's the big question. Are these special fuels, aka e-fuels, really better than electric cars? Well, EVs are cheaper and smarter. They use almost all the energy they get, while regular cars waste a lot of their fuel just to stay cool. But some people think that EVs don't have the same character as ICE vehicles. Customers are even asking companies not to switch to EVs. Porsche was going to make electric versions of cars like the Macan, but it seems like customers don't want that. Porsche heard them and realized that there weren't enough places yet to charge the electric cars for the Macan customers. The CEO of Porsche, along with other important people, knows that there aren't many places to charge EVs in public compared to refueling for ICEs. They're thinking of ways to fix this. They're going to keep making EVs, but they also want to put a cool new kind of engine in their cars by 2025. We will stay close to our roots so that Porsche heritage can be combined with new technologies, said Blume. You can be sure when we come out with an electric car, its driving dynamics, acceleration, and quality will be typical Porsche. But guess what? Inside sources say Porsche isn't completely happy with its electric cars either. Even though the Taycan EV did really well when it came out in 2019, it's not selling as much now. And that's strange because it became one of Porsche's most popular cars. In 2021, they sold a lot, more than their famous models like the 911, Panorama, and others. But in 2022, Taycan sales went down by 16%, and in early 2023, they fell by another 3%. Inside sources said this happened because there were problems getting all the parts needed to make the Taycan. This causes long waiting times, and in certain parts of the world, it can be over a year. So even though people liked it, they couldn't buy it because the supply didn't meet the demand. So why shouldn't we only have electric cars? People around the world are talking a lot about electric cars, which is great for the environment. But it's important to remember that electric cars aren't the only solution. There are other options like e-fuels and hydrogen that can also help us have cleaner energy. What's cool about e-fuels is that they can work with the cars and machines we already have. We don't need to make a lot of changes. This can help us switch to clean energy without having to buy a new car. Hydrogen fuel cell cars are like regular cars, but they're just as good and can go further than electric cars. You can also fill them up quickly, which is a big advantage because electric cars take a long time to charge. Porsche is a car brand that is still interested in these special cars. Most other car companies are only making electric cars now, so Porsche is looking into these special fuels. That's different and pretty cool. Porsche is still planning to make a lot of electric cars, but they're also thinking about other ways to help the environment. Special fuels work in regular car engines, which Porsche finds important to avoid designing new engines. However, these fuels have issues like scarcity, high costs, and energy-intensive production. The European Union needs swift regulation updates to promote their eco-friendly use. Environmental progress requires diverse solutions, not just one, like electric cars. Now, share your thoughts. Would you prefer to go all in on electric cars or have more varied options available for all of us? So, do you believe this perspective is hindering progress, or does it hold valuable insights? Are there middle grounds for preserving legacy while embracing the future? Do share your thoughts down in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to stay updated on more thought-provoking EV discussions. Thanks for watching.